And so we chose the structures that were most beneficial to teachers, and that was culture and character, active pedagogy, and learning expeditions. And so within each core area, we've divided into collaborative vertical inquiry groups to study what the topic was that we chose and to become experts ourselves in those topic areas, and then share out with others. Because the whole idea was, especially because we had grown the school so much and we had hired like 7 new teachers, that we wanted to make sure that the practices of EL or the practices that we deemed important to ANSER Charter School became sustainable. And we wanted to, even though we knew those practices and did them very well in the classroom, we didn't want new teachers coming in and not using those practices. And so we wanted to make sure, no matter where we were on the continuum, that we were either there to support or to learn and support. And even though the teachers that we hired knew a lot of those practices and used them in their own classroom, we wanted to make sure that we understood the common language of the practices within our school. So then we looked at, and we're not there yet, we looked at what and when do we know when those practices are sustainable in the classroom? Are we just going to say, yep, I'm doing it, it's sustainable? Is culture and character in the classroom meetings? We talked about what are the elements of a classroom meeting? So what are the elements in a kindergarten classroom meeting compared to the elements in a junior high classroom meeting? They're not going to look the same. Some of them are going to have the same elements, but some elements are going to be different. And so I think that's where we're at right now in this group, is identifying, and Giselle has done a lot of work on identifying the elements. And we've all gone into other classrooms to observe, to see if those elements are there. And I think now where we're at is, and this is what I would like to see for every Plate to Plaque group, is to create an observational tool that speaks to those elements, so that when we go in to observe other classrooms, we're not observing everything. We're observing the elements of the practice. And then to develop some sort of system that says, yep, I am using this practice and I'm using it in the classroom based on what we decided as a school is important to us. And so, along with that observational tool, what kind of an evaluation tool, if you will, do we use as well? We talked about self-assessment. We talked about the observation tool. We talked about, looking at the alignment from one grade level to the next, all the way up, so that we can all speak to a practice and know what it is and know what it looks like in the school. I had brought forth, I think it's important that it is a vertical team, that there should be representatives of every grade level in the teams. Well, in reflection, last spring, we didn't know if that was such a great idea, because there were a lot of new people on the groups that there wasn't anybody else, that could support them in the practices that had been used at the school for many years. And so then we looked at regrouping, and I put the new groups on, but as we look today, there still may be some movement, and that's okay too. So last year was a learning year for all of us, and this year will be a learning year too. Hopefully, if it's never a learning year, then we're probably not doing it. But last year I was not part of a group. I kind of was an overall picture sort of person, and this year I am going to be part of the group. And so that's kind of where Plaque to Plaque is and why it's important to us as our professional development focus, because it is something that we choose together, something that we choose to study together and research together and share the research together and learn from one another and then have it be sustainable in our classrooms and have a consistent practice. Because one of the things that our parents and we as teachers were very concerned about is how can we sustain the culture of the school? Was our parents' concern and our students. But our concern was how can we sustain the practices that we deem important at the school. And as many of you know, if you've been in other schools, you go into classrooms and there's no consistency from one classroom to the next in practices or belief systems or culture or anything. And that was something that's very, very important to us, that the culture is aligned and sustained through kindergarten through.
It's just very comforting that we'll find that place that makes sense and has value.
And that's what, to me, that's what professional development should be. You know, it's really creating structure from chaos. And unless you,
We're doing well there.
Yes.
no, unless you really work through those things and dig deep, then is the work really worth it? If it comes too easy, is it really worth it? Have we dug deep enough? And I think we're digging really deep. And I think we're doing really, really good work. And yeah, maybe visually it doesn't look like we made any movement on the Plaque to Plaque, but I know we have made tremendous movement through this process. And I'm proud of what you've done. And I'm proud of how you've struggled and asked the questions and, said, I don't know. Because I think that brings us to a place that we need to be brought to in order to move ahead. We expect it from our own kids, our students to dig deep and to struggle and question. And we should be doing the same thing. The part that I would worry about is if you're not taking a leadership role. And that's the part that would concern me. And I've never seen that, and I don't expect that I ever will see that from the staff. And if I ever do, this probably isn't the place for you to be working, because there's too much